Hotel staff of Reddit, how often do you catch people nude in the halls? And what's your best story? Here's a story. Keep in mind I was 17-year-old girl while working at this hotel. I've never seen a naked person in the hallway. But once in the lobby a man at around 3 AM sat down on a chair and called his girlfriend. I was on the night shift and I was sitting down behind a computer screen, so he would have only seen the top of my head if he looked over. But it was Sunday morning and he was extremely drunk from a wedding. He was wearing a suit and I was just keeping my eye on him. He then started having raunchy phone sex with his girlfriend or wife. And it was so raunchy, my jaw dropped and I honestly didn't know what to do. Then a janitor came over and we were sitting there flabbergasted. He then pulled his dick out and started jerking off. So I got up, walked over and said, "Sir, you're in the lobby." He woke up out of his sexual drunken stupor and I'll never forget the look of horror that came across his face. He ran to his room so embarrassed. Finally one I can answer. I caught someone once. Well, I didn't have to catch them. They came to me. I worked night audit at a local hotel. One night/morning around 5 AM I was at the desk when the elevator started moving. At the time we didn't have cameras, so I didn't know what to expect. When it stopped in the lobby the doors opened and I see a man with a cart looking slightly shocked. Then from the blind spot from where I was standing out stepped a man with a cigarette in hand and nothing but a small towel around his waist. He looked pissed. He stormed up to the desk and demanded a new room key, all while yelling about how he got lost in the confusing as fuck rooms. I confirmed his room best I could given the situation and sent him on his way. The poor man that was in the elevator with him looked like he saw more than I did and didn't want to talk about it. An hour later the man came down to the lobby to check out and demanded a full refund for embarrassing him and for not clearly labeling the balcony door and the hallway door. I laughed and told him to call my manager, which he did later that day. Kicker is the room he was in had two doors. A bathroom door on one side of the room and on the completely other side with a fire map, chain lock and deadbolt the room door. There was no balcony attached to his room. Last week I had to shoo an amorous couple out from behind the dumpster. Our hotel has the worst smelling dumpster I've ever had the displeasure of experiencing. The thought of anything sexual going on back there is enough to make me gag. Maybe that's why they like it. The smell of rotting garbage is enough to cover the scent of your disgusting genitals. Babe, I got us a new thing to spice things up a little in the bedroom. It's a skunk. I used to work as overnight auditor for a hotel. One day while I was doing rounds at 3 AM, I thought I saw something moving at the opposite end of the hallway, and I was like, did I just see a naked man? This poor guy was sleepwalking, but naked while hugging himself. Our hallways are freezing cold. I approached him closer and said, "Hello sir." He turned his head and said, "Hey." I was like, is he still asleep? 5 seconds later, I guess he realized what was going on. He said, "I'm so sorry." I gave him a robe from a nearby housekeeping closet, took him to the lobby to verify his identity. Obviously he doesn't have ID on him. I gave him a room key and followed him back to his room to make sure he doesn't sleep on his way back or whatever. Edit. I can't stop laughing. Thank you all. I'm glad that I didn't send this story to my manager. Whether he reads it as if I rubbed a naked man in the hallway, pulled off a stick up on a guy with his stick hanging out, or even worse, as if I hid Mr. Rob in the closet so I could introduce him to a sleepwalker, I would have been fired. Had to read the part about gave him a rob twice. Thought this took an interesting turn. Been working 3 years as a night manager and it honestly only happened once. Knocked on a room where I suspected that a guest was smoking on the room. He opened the door completely nude and casual. One time housekeeping brought the front desk a bag of sex toys that were left behind. After 5 seconds of checking the system, I find that the guests are here for 2 more nights. Housekeeping ran back to put the bag where they found it before the guests came back. I used to work at Great Wolf Lodge. I'd catch people having sex in the hot tubs quite often. It was always awkward having to go tell them to stop. Edit. Again. Not Wisconsin's location, this was Virginia. But I'm sure this happens at all of them. You have nothing to worry about. They keep up with the water quality very well, at least when I was there. No, you cannot get pregnant from swimming in a pool with jizz. starting to wonder just how much jizz I was stewing in last time I went there. I was water park maintenance. We kept the water quality top notch, at least at our location, so you didn't got to worry about getting pregnant from swimming. This was about 5 to 6 years ago, but I'll probably never forget it. A couple was fucking all morning in a room I was supposed to clean later on. You could hear them on the entire floor. After lunch, I see them leaving, both in business suits, both very classy, late 30s, both very attractive. I opened the door and the room was trashed, as if a rock star from the 70s stayed there. Crushed crisps, spilled booze, the sofa, the bed, the bathroom were such a mess. Those usual 20 minutes they give you for cleaning would never be enough even for 3 people. They left a £40 tip on the table and a note saying sorry. Not my story, but my brother manages a nice hotel that happens to be near a red light district. One day, he gets this tourist who books a double room for a month, ideally as far away from the main entrance as possible. Guest checks in, and starting on the 3rd day, there's this conga line of prostitutes coming in and out of the guy's room. By my brother's own count, the guy's personal record is 16 different women in a day. That's not the crazy part. One day, guest comes to front desk with a woman on each arm and asks my brother if he could book an Uber. Brother obliges and books the guest an Uber. Guest then tips with a prostitute, as in, full on offers the girl up to him and says you wanna have a go. I sincerely hope nobody ever takes a black light to that room. Edit. To answer the important question, no, he did not partake. He was on shift and working front desk at the time. Edit 2. To answer the other question, in a lot of poorer countries, cash is still king. A lot of tourists don't want to mess around with tourist SIMs and the local cellular networks, so they ask the front desk at hotels to call an Uber for them. The Uber gets to the hotel, and the guest pays the driver in cash. And yes, taxis are a lot easier. But in this specific country, taxis are also infamous for running scams, refusing to take passengers, or marking up their fares with bullshit invisible charges. I was working morning shift one day, and it was almost 3, so I'm getting ready to leave. The business center was right in front of the front desk, across the lobby. I'm counting money and I look up to see Big Booty Judy getting pounded out on one of the computers and a guest with his junk out, going to town. I was in shock. Right then my coworker walks in and sees him too. She said, "Sir, this is a family hotel. Get to your room, now. If you're reading this, thanks for handling that. Sir, go to your room." Priceless. I can't help to hear this with a mom voice and a chancler in one hand. A guy somehow managed to lock himself out of his room naked and had to come to the front desk to get another key. The front desk is separated from the room, since there are 5 buildings each with a certain number of rooms, and he was in the one furthest from the desk, so he had to walk naked across the property. The saving grace was that it was around midnight, so no one was around. Also I was sitting down, and the counter goes to around chest high, so I just thought he didn't have a shirt on until he was walking away, and I did a double take as I got a good look at his flappy ass. This is my fucking nightmare. Being that dude. It happens surprisingly often, to be honest. It snows here, and during one winter another one did the same, but at least he had some shorts on. He had to do the cold walk of shame in snow back to his room. Had one dude full on nude walking about, but that was boring. Best was a guy who called down, said he was locked out of his room after sleepwalking. Go up, has just in boxers. I'll let him and then come down to check the cameras. Dude was straight wandering the halls, penis in hand, slowly stroking it whilst he knocked on doors, then comes back down the hallway, pees into a bin in front of the elevators, and then calls down. You can even see the moment he wakes up he looks confused and lost. Was a good laugh. He got charged hazardous waste cleanup fee. Doing this while sleepwalking is my worst nightmare. He was pulled aside the next day by the supervisor to tell him about the added charge to his account. He was trying to keep it down as he didn't want his wife to hear. I'm guessing sleepwalking is an ongoing issue for him. I once worked in a hotel where the staff accommodation was a small house outside the back of the hotel, surrounded by 4 guest accommodation cottages. My friend and colleague had gone down to the hotel in the morning to make him and his partner breakfast. On the way back, carrying a mug of coffee in each hand and a plate of toast balanced on each mug, He passed a family of newly arrived guests unloading their car into their cottage. The cord tying his bathrobe came loose and his gown came open, exposing all. With both hands full, he had no choice but nod, smile and say morning in the most cheery voice he could muster and walk on. Not sure what the parents made of this. I do feel sorry for the children though. Edit. Spelling. I picture this as the family was so busy unloading their car they didn't notice you walking by until your friend loudly cleared his throat and cheerfully called out morning to them all. Thank you for watching. Please leave a like on this video and subscribe to the channel for more edit videos. Click on the bell to get notified when we post more new content.